Hey, moms and dads. One of the rewarding parts of this practice are the questions I get from moms and dads just like you that are looking for a change. One of the more common questions I've been getting lately is this: Dr. Jeff, why is my teen more anxious or depressed lately? What's going on? Today, I want to jump right in and get to the bottom of this question. Why are teens struggling with anxiety and depression more? And why is it concerning not only to your teen, but to you when you wonder why they continue to be in this state? These are the types of frustrations I'm hearing more and more from parents. So I want to share with you how we deal with anxiety and depression and what you can do about it right now. As a disclaimer, I do not diagnose anyone or any condition. I will be giving characterizations of each. Only a mental health expert can properly diagnose your teen. Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Burrows, and I'm a chiropractor who focuses on pediatric and families here at Cedar Grove Family Chiropractic. And I just love answering your questions. So whether some of you are feeling frustrated about what to do with your child now, or perhaps some of you are looking for someone to simplify all the information out there, let's dig in. And when we're done with this webinar, I know you will see that you do have choices in how your child experiences one of the more difficult topics to address: teen anxiety and depression. I'm going to begin with a demonstration. I want everyone to follow along. So when we look at our hand, and I want everyone to hold up their hand, your thumb represents the limbic system, which is responsible for our emotions. Our fingers, which is the prefrontal cortex, its job of many jobs is to regulate our emotions. So you can see this is how our body should be working. First, it's important to understand that our teens are designed with a safety mechanism. It's called the fight or flight response. It really keeps them safe from danger. Some people refer to it also as the sympathetic system of our side of our nervous system. So when we are, that fight or flight response is to make sure we elicit certain activities within our body. Adrenaline, norepinephrine come in contact or start to get released into our body. Sugars, fats get put into our muscles because our body's getting either ready to fight whatever's that danger or to run away from it. Also, our digestive system and our immune system gets shut down during this. An example of this is if you're driving along, you're driving, all of a sudden a deer stops out. All of a sudden you slam on the brakes. You look at the deer's looking at you, your heart starts to race, your breath gets a little bit shorter, maybe break out a little sweat. Internally, those things we were just talking about start to happen because your body's into that fight or flight. After a while, the deer will start to walk away. You'll start to drive on. As you're driving on, you notice your heart rate getting back into normal. Breathing is becoming normal again too. But you are still in the heightened alert. You're still looking out for that next danger that is coming along. So this is how our body should normally function, and this is how it should be. Now, but when we go back to our hand, again, the thumb, our limbic system, is where that fight or flight response starts, that emotion, and our prefrontal cortex is regulating that. But when we see that deer, it's boom. Prefrontal cortex lifts up, allows that limbic system to do its job, get that fight or flight because it perceives a danger. But as we start driving away, the other side of our nervous system, that parasympathetic side, will start to regulate that, start getting back into normal, so the body's coming back into balance. What we are seeing, though, is we have some of our teens being stuck in this fight or flight. So no matter what type of danger it is, it doesn't matter what type of stress it is, we're perceiving that as a fight or flight response. So we're going through those normal, what your body should normally go into. It's working the way it should, but it's not the mechanical problem or how the body's working. It's more of how the perception of those dangers. And that's what we're going to dig in today. So I'm going to start our screen here. Share our screen. as you can see, in today's world, let's think about what's really at stake for our teens. So when we talk about anxiety, you start to see this. You start to see our teens be nervous, fearful. They start to worry a lot too. And it's not just happening mentally, what's happening to them. We also start to see possibly physical changes that are happening. So these are the kids who are in that fight or flight. When we think about depression, this is where we start to see, obviously, is depressed moods, or really a loss of interest of different activities. And this really starts to inhibit or impair how they're living their life. You see a lot of this times is teens, as they get towards the later stages of their teens, this starts kicking in more. Earlier, when they're younger, these kids might have been the high energy kids, but now all of a sudden, something has happened, something has switched, and now they're in a low energy and becoming really depressed. When we think about the stresses, we have to think about there's three types. There's physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress that our teens are dealing with. One of the first things, and probably more of the common we're experiencing right now, is posture, what I like to call even text neck. As you see, kids, they're all day long on their phones, looking down like this. They're spending a lot more time on computers. So posture, when they have free time, they're sitting on their beds or on the couch, just looking at their screen time. Another stress, which a lot of parents don't look at, is growth spurts. Now, every teen goes through this. That's just part of growing up. We start to see in the core area, which is the midsection, start to become a little weak, how it is. We see more homework. Nowadays, lack of activity. States saying we're not allowed to go out as much. We see kids may not be participating in their sports that they normally are. They're not having gym class. They're not really getting out more. They're playing a lot more video games too. The second stress is chemical stresses. Those are the junk foods, the sugars that we're putting into our bodies. Some kids will start to experiment with drugs or alcohol during this time. You also have to think about what kids are putting onto their skin. It could be creams, makeups, or anything else. Our skin absorbs that and puts that right into our system, which can throw off our balance of our body a little bit. Another is poor nutrition, either eating really junky foods or not even eating any foods at all. So again, these are all different stresses that can be happening to our kids. And our last one is the emotional stress. From peer pressure, social media nowadays, you hear about possible bullying that goes along with it. But as our teens get older, more advanced to high school, they have to start making sure they're getting good grades. They have prepping for the SATs, putting college applications in, starting making decisions regarding their life. And this is where they start to have an unhealthy balance between school, work, or even social interactions. A lot of times too, kids during this time, they're not able to interact with their friends, which can be very stressful for them. So when we were going back, talking about how our body is perceiving these different dangers, this is what we're talking about. The physical, the chemical, the emotional stresses normally should not elicit a flight or fight response. But when the kids are stuck on, no matter what type of stress that they're dealing with, is going to elicit this response. And this will then put them more into that anxiety or into that depression. So what does it look like for a teen with anxiety? This is where the kids might become a little bit more buoyant or shut down. They're not really telling you what's going on. Everything's like, everything's okay. And these are the kids who are the high energy, they're overachievers. They have to make sure that they're getting everything right. They're doing everything perfect the way it really should. But yet, they might have some lower self-esteem or even confidence. They're starting to feel that pressure, especially as they get later on in their teens. This is where they're sleeping more throughout the day, but yet they're tired, which doesn't make any sense. How can you sleep 12 hours, but yet you still feel like they're tired? And also, when you ask them how their day is doing, they just blow up at you. You're like, what did I say? I said hello. So the kids seem like they're on that edge all the time. Teen depression, we still see some of the similarities, But this is where we start to see their performance in school starts to be hindered a little bit, or they don't want to participate. Maybe they were participating in sports or clubs. Now they're like, no, I'm just want to be in by myself. There's really lack the coping mechanisms to deal with these different stresses. Again, low confidence, and even just a poor mindset that goes along with it too. These are the kids who are more withdrawn, even more. Really, the self-worth starts to go down. And unfortunately, we start to hear both those suicidal thoughts or attempts during this stage. And as our teens are developing from children to teens going to adults, this is the progression. When I'm talking to parents, this is what we see. As a child, they had a high stress. And they didn't really know how to cope with it. They didn't have any mechanisms to really cope with the different stresses, or they may not even be aware of the stress. As they get teen, they still have that high stress that's going on, but now, they are aware of the stress. They understand the pressures that are coming from school or the different activities that they're doing are causing stress onto their body, but they have immature coping mechanisms. This is where you see the kids start to experiment with drugs or alcohol. It's really, or start to eating poorly or start eating bad or not eating at all. So we start to see a lot of unhealthy habits start to begin during this time. And as we then move into adults, high stress, aware of the mechanisms of stress, but also then we still have the coping mechanisms. It still may be unhealthy, but now socially they're acceptable to be okay because they're adults. So this is the stages that we see our kids going in through, and this is why it's important to help make sure that we're dealing with this as soon as possible. Now, as a chiropractor, our job is to see on how the nervous system is functioning and how it's able to adapt to these different stresses. Now, going back to our hand, we're talking about having the prefrontal cortex, that limbic. So when it's just stuck on, as a chiropractor, we want to see on how that prefrontal cortex, is it staying stuck on, and what can we do in order to start to activate it? Now, chiropractic adjustment will activate that prefrontal cortex, dealing with that parasympathetic side of our nervous system, which is the calming. And as we start to activate it with the adjustments, it starts to regulate our limbic system. Regulates our limbic system, it balances our bodies, allows our emotions to be better to help with the anxiety and also the depression. Also, it's important to teaching our kids how to recognize the different stresses in their lives. As you can see, we're not able to get rid of every single stress. Some stresses are always going to be there, but we want to make sure we're able to teach our teens, okay, how to recognize what stresses are, what we have to deal with, and how we're able to cope with them better. And some of those coping mechanisms now is teaching them the proper healthy ones, not the unhealthy ones, really getting them into ways that they're able to deal with this stress. In our office, in order to determine how our teams are adapting to the stress, we use state-of-the-art technology, what we refer to as our scans. It's a 3-part scanning system. We use a thermal scan, a surface EMG scan, and also a heart rate variability scan. All these are very safe. Don't put anything into the body, don't take anything away, just really measuring on how the body is adapting to the stress. One of the most important ones, especially with our teens, is using our HRV. Have the fingers in here, and we're able to scan that too. Probably the hardest thing for your teen is that they have to sit in a room by themselves for 3 minutes without their phone. But as they're able here, what this is able to do, the HRV, is tell us the reserve that our teens have. So they're able to see how they're able to adapt to daily and eventful stressors. So we want to see if they have any extra reserve, which as a teenager, they should have tons. And so they're able to deal with those stresses that they're going to deal with on an everyday basis. Once we're able to do our scans on our teens, we're able to print out for our parents and also our teens what we call our core score. It gives us exactly to see where that stress is happening in the child's spine and seeing how they are adapting to that too. So if this sounds like your teen, or if you'd like to have more information, again, I'd love to answer questions from our parents, and we're here to help you. We are open right now to making sure that we're able to help as many families as possible. So you could contact me, call us up at 973-239-3222. You could email me at the Cedar Grove Family Chiro at gmail.com. You can leave a direct message here on Facebook, but get in contact here. We want to make sure that if you have any concerns or any questions, we're here to make sure that your team can get checked, to give you the information that you need to make the best decision regarding your child and their health. So thank you for spending time with us here today. And we want to make sure that we are a help, so please reach out to us. We'd love to answer those questions. We look forward to helping you and your team. Thank you, and have a great day.